Well, no one is giving up hope yet because they did find this debris field. That certainly makes it less and less likely that they will find any survivors from Flight 447. But what we learned this afternoon was that, in fact, Brazil's defense minister, Nelson Jobim, he had met with families at a nearby hotel here in Rio de Janeiro, and following that meeting, he briefed the media, and at that point said that they had found this 3-mile swath of wreckage, metallic and non-metallic pieces, is the way he put it, and he followed that by saying, which is confirmation that the Air France flight went down in that area. He wouldn't elaborate on what exactly they had found out there, but we had been told earlier by Air Force officials that they found a seat, they found a life vest, they found a floating drum, and what also appeared to be an oil slick out there in the area. But they have not found any survivors. Now, they had pressed into service 3 commercial vessels, one from France and 2 from the Netherlands, which happened to be in the area. They were pressed into service to try and locate more wreckage and to possibly look for survivors, but none have been found. Now, a couple of Brazilian warships are now headed to the area. They will be out there sometime tomorrow. And the way the defense minister put it, it's an area that's some 700 miles off the coast of Brazil. Now, earlier we had been told it was about 440 miles off a chain of islands that juts out from the Brazilian coastline. So that would make some sense that it's that far out, way out in the middle of the Atlantic, in water that's some 2,000 meters deep. So very, very deep water out there in the Atlantic Ocean that they're searching. And it may not be in just that very area because of the strong Atlantic currents. The search area is still hundreds of square miles because the debris that they found may be many, many miles from where the plane actually went down. Nicole?
So, John, if they do find this black box, what's that black box going to tell us?
Well, again, as I just said, because of the fact that the water is so deep there, it's going to take one heck of a lucky stroke to be able to find that black box. And if it does, if they do, it will contain very valuable information on exactly what went wrong on that flight, what failures took place on board that aircraft that ultimately led to this tragedy. Because usually, as you know, it's not one thing but a combination of things that add up to lead to air crashes. So it may not have been certainly just flying into thunderstorms, as we had been told, some heavy thunderstorms in that area, but may have been other contributing factors that led to this apparent now air disaster. Nicole?
Of course, it takes a long time to figure all of this out, John, but it seemed to me, even covering it when we heard about it, that answers were really slow to come out. This seems like somebody's worst nightmare if they're just watching this as a viewer. But did you get that sense? I mean, why weren't we not really even knowing where this could have been, if it crashed, if it disappeared, if it landed somewhere else? I mean, why were there so many questions, I guess?
Well, I mean, a lot of it had to do with because it was so far out over the Atlantic Ocean, they were basically in a position where air traffic control from Brazil was handing off air traffic control of the plane to Senegal. So it was almost in an area of what you might want to call no man's land out there in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean when the plane began to experience the problems when they hit this area of thunderstorms. And because there was no actual communication from the pilots that we know of back to Brazilian authorities or to Senegalese authorities as to their exact location when they went down, it made the search that much more difficult. And certainly when an aircraft goes down in the middle of the ocean and hits with the kind of force that they do. In fact, it's often been described to me that when an airplane hits the ocean, it's worse than hitting concrete. It literally probably disintegrates into very, very small pieces, which is what they're finding now. They're not finding large pieces, and any of the large pieces that may have survived the crash probably sank fairly quickly into that very, very deep water.